Good evening. Well, thank you for the warm welcome. It's always good to get up here with an applause. That's pretty nice. Good evening and welcome to the big general plan community update for Barstow. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Andrew Espinoza. I'm the interim city manager for Barstow, and it is a pleasure to be here with all of you tonight. I want to start off with a big thank you. First, to the community. The community has been just so supportive with this project and with what we're doing at the City of Barstow that we cannot go without thanking you for everything you do. It's so important that we have your involvement and your engagement when we move through this. This evening is an important opportunity for us to demonstrate that this process, it's not deliberate, but it's also thoughtful. We are fully committed, your staff, your City of Barstow, and everybody that works on these projects is fully committed to the opportunity for us to demonstrate that is fully committed tonight to doing this right. And it's a long process. It's a tedious process. And we only get one shot at this. We don't get any second chances up at bat. So it's important for us to do the right thing the first time and ensure the best possible future for the City of Barstow. And we are genuinely excited to engage with all of you tonight on this endeavor. So let's dive into some of the things that your staff at the City of Barstow has accomplished or has done has been working on over the past few years. As many of you know, the city initiated a comprehensive update to its general plan in late 2022, driven by substantial interest in building and seeking improvements throughout Barstow. This is a major undertaking, creating new policies and maps that will guide the city's future growth. Of the changes to the city, the Barstow International Gateway, known as B.I.G, is the most significant project. In preparation for the much-needed and highly anticipated growth to our community, the Barstow team traveled to Texas to gain first-hand knowledge of the BNSF Alliance intermodal facilities and their vast capabilities. We're super excited to be here. The Barstow team is actually in Fort Worth, Texas at the BNSF Alliance Intermodal. And we're here to see this fabulous facility and see what it's going to mean when BNSF brings the big project to Barstow. BNSF's intermodal network is made up of some of the largest and most modern intermodal hub facilities in the industry. BNSF has 25 facilities in 14 states, staffed by nearly 3,000 BNSF intermodal team members. This is the industry's largest network of intermodal hubs, connecting your consumer goods to most U.S. markets. We toured this 500-acre state-of-the-art facility equipped with gate technology, 133,434 feet of track, secured and accurate yard checks, and 23 overhead cranes in preparation for the upcoming Barstow International Gateway Hub. The Barstow facility will surpass these capabilities and usher in a new era of commerce. The city has taken numerous steps to facilitate and support the big project. We have had stakeholder meetings, a survey and town hall, an open house, and other public meetings. We have met with other government agencies, have updated the city's housing element, and have hired firms for various studies, including a traffic impact analysis and fiscal impact analysis. In addition to this town hall, the city will prepare a revised draft general plan and coordinate with BNSF to review the draft B.I.G specific plan while also wrapping up the various technical studies and environmental analysis. And now it is time to talk about the next steps as we anticipate good things ahead for Barstow. Here today, I am pleased to welcome speakers who will be addressing the latest with BNSF Railway in our city and the general plan updates. During their presentations, no questions will be taken. However, you may ask questions in the lobby following this event at their specific tables. Thank you again for being here today. I would like to introduce Assistant City Manager Cody Tompkins, who will serve as our MC and introduce our speakers.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Cody Tompkins. I'm your Assistant City Manager for the City of Barstow. I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening in order to get an update on the big project as well as the city's general plan. We're excited to connect with all of you and discuss important updates and initiatives in our community. Before we dive into the agenda, I'd like to take a moment to recognize some special guests who are here with us today and provide them each with a few minutes to speak. From San Bernardino's 3rd District Supervisor Don Rao's office, I would like to thank you for the continued support and engagement in our community. We also have representatives from State Senator Shannon Grove's office. Pleased to welcome and appreciate the dedication serving our region. And from the U.S. Congressman Jay Obernolte office for joining us in the commitment and the needs from a federal level that have been invaluable. So please join me in giving them a warm welcome. Whoever wants to go first.
Good evening. My name is Steve Reyes. I'm the field representative for Supervisor Don Rao. On her behalf and my behalf as well, this is such a wonderful project that will have a huge economic impact on the entire high desert, the city of Barstow, the community. Really, I live in 29 Palms, and the footprint of that economic development will reach all the way out to where I live. So with that said, I value the partnership, and speaking on behalf of Supervisor Rao, thank you to the city of Barstow, the community, and BNSF for this wonderful project. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sonia Miranda on behalf of Congressman Jay Obernolte. So I just want to share a couple words on what Jay's doing to spearhead Barstow International Gateway. So he is leading the fight against the rule that Congress believes that it is extreme overreach what CARB is doing. He did receive over 2,000 letters and forward that to the EPA. And he is spearheading and putting a regulation on the EPA that they're not allowed to use any funding, any federal fundings moving forward. So if CARB wants this to pass, they cannot rely on the federal government. They would have to figure it out on their own. So on behalf of that, thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome Colin with PlaceWorks to give an update on the general plan.
All right, thanks, Cody. So the video that you saw went over some of the things that I'm going to talk about. I'll get into a little bit more detail, and then I'll be out in the lobby, answer any questions you have. Essentially, in 2015, the city of Barstow established the vision looking at Barstow being a great place to work, to live, to raise a family. We're definitely going to be continuing this vision, trying to refine this vision and improve upon it based upon all of the potential changes that we're looking at right now. There's a lot of tools that we use to try to achieve that vision. At the very top is the general plan. It is this long-term policy document that helps guide decisions, and it helps to implement and direct specific plans, development standards, implementation mechanisms, and even the city's budget. So in more detail, it's long-term, the general plan. It looks at 15 to 20 years. It doesn't look at just the next 5. It does consider what's happening right now and what can happen in today's market, but it considers what the city wants to achieve and how to get there over the long term. It tries to say, what is your vision and how do we get there? And it has goals, policies, and implementation actions, and then these maps that tell people where to invest, how to grow, what is good, and what the city wants. And then finally, implementation kind of does look at that next 3 to 4 years about where to go. So the city initially looked at the general plan comprehensively in 2015. And that only looked till 2020. So it was kind of a shorter term general plan. They're typically only updated, every 10 to 15 years, maybe 20, some have gone as long as 60 years. But we're really taking a look at the new general plan right now because so much change is being considered and it has so many implications for all of the city's systems. In 2020, the city, buoyed by state law, said we need to look at housing, safety, environmental justice. We're kind of infusing all of those updates into this new plan and kind of moving them even further. So since 2015 and then really since 2020, the city has received a tremendous amount of development interests that are different from what the currently adopted general plan envisioned. And so that creates implications for the city's physical built environment, for the natural environment, for the people of Barstow, and for the city itself, how it operates, how it can provide public safety and services. So that's where PlaceWorks and a team, it's not just us, it's a team of experts kind of bring our collective expertise. We've worked with the County of San Bernardino, throughout Southern California, kind of our expertise on how to do general plans, how to do long-term planning, how to look at transportation systems, infrastructure systems, and how to get those work with the city's finances. So since 2023 and 2024, we've been busy working with engaging the public, informing people, taking in insights, conducting technical analyses, looking at land use and planning systems. And here's just kind of a list of the kind of reach that we've gone. We've gotten to reach a broad range of the Barstow community, and getting everyone aware and taking in a tremendous amount of insight so that we can infuse that into updating all of the content. So the list of stakeholder groups that have been met with are there, and what we heard from them is they want to have continued investment into the Barstow community. They want to see career opportunities for the people of Barstow. We want to expand housing options beyond what's available today. We want to support the local school systems and improve public safety and services. Finally, getting those recreation amenities kind of improved and expanded. From the surveys, we looked at hearing from people wanting safe neighborhoods, whether they kind of echoed a lot of those top priorities, but we also saw a vibrant downtown going in there. And then when we looked at, we got information from the town hall and the open house in early 2023 and earlier this year, we heard people have these questions about, okay, the big specific plan, I heard about it, but when's it happening? And trucks versus trains, and how many jobs? Is there going to be job training? What is this going to mean for me? My house, where do I live? Where do I shop? How are the roads going to be improved, or how are they going to be impacted? What about the infrastructure systems? Are we going to have enough water? Those are all the types of questions that we were fielding and that we can answer. Some of them today, some of them won't be ripe until later. So that's the outreach side and kind of some of what we heard. We've also been looking at changes to the land use system, whether or not be also in the roadways, the bicycle systems, how people get around. What are other people thinking? Once you announce some big changes are being considered, other people come out and say, well, now that you're mentioning it, I want to have some different ideas. How much growth does the city need to plan for over the next 25 years in order to effectively assess whether or not the systems and finances can be in place for people to continue to have a good quality of life, and how to improve that quality of life? And then, as you just heard, just constant coordination with all the various entities, whether they be the county, federal agencies, state agencies, et cetera. Understanding what people want to have studied in the environmental analysis in addition to what's already required by state law, and then helping the city review preliminary information on the big specific plan and helping to steward the analysis of that. All these various technical studies, whether it's roadways, water, sewer, et cetera, and then updating those goals and policies that guide decision makers. Every time something comes up for a decision that isn't already laid out clearly, what decisions need to be made and how should they be made, and what else is needed to make that decision. So obviously the big specific plan is the most significant project that is being factored into the general plan update, and it has a wide range of implications, and we're looking at how the project's designed, how it's going to operate, its implications for the roadway systems, for infrastructure, what this means for how many people might move here, and what that growth might bring. And so, put simply, Barstow might double in the next 25 years. We think with the amount of growth coming in and kind of a realistic assessment of how much growth might come in, you might see double the number of households and double the number of jobs here. So this is the current land use plan. This tells people not only where current land uses are, but where we want them to be. And as you can see kind of on the eastern side, aside from the military base, there's largely a grouping of compatible land uses, residential, public facilities, commercial, shop services. And on the west side, you see, and it's largely undeveloped, you see a wide range of land uses, and we think there's a lot of industrial, business, stores, housing, all of those being next to each other could create some conflict, and especially with the prospect of BIG coming in, we think that there was an opportunity to really kind of reorganize the land use. And so this is the working draft plan we have right now. It's fairly similar if you were at the open house earlier this year. It's had some slight tweaks to it, but it's largely consistent. It's what we've been studying. But you can see that on the east side, we kind of maintain that pattern and kind of enhance and infuse more residential over there. We've really moved the residential from the western part of the city to the east. And this accomplishes a couple of things in what we're proposing. One, it has employment and industrial uses on the west where they can operate independently and without having a lot of conflict with other uses. And then the new residential on the east side goes around the existing residential. And so what we really want to avoid is a new versus old Barstow. We don't want to have the western area where new investments going, new houses, new stores, new jobs, new schools, and then eastern Barstow is left to languish. What we really want to do is encourage new residential and stores and public facilities and parks to be next to the existing neighborhoods where that new investment can benefit everyone. So the technical studies I mentioned, that includes looking at roadway capacity, making sure the roads function despite this growth, looking at the water and sewer systems, making sure we have enough facilities, that we have the financing mechanisms in place to make sure that they work, understanding the implications of air quality of all of this growth, looking at energy. This is a lot of growth. Do we have the right facilities and systems in the pipeline and coordinating with the service providers to make sure this happens? And then looking at cultural, tribal, and other resources that are in the ground or in the area to make sure that we treat them appropriately. So CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, this guides the evaluation of all of this growth for its potential impacts on the environment. So CEQA it's really twofold. It's a process to inform the public and the decision makers so they know about the potential implications of the growth before they make a decision. And then it's a process that includes identifying feasible ways to lessen the potential impacts of this growth. And we're looking at the projected growth over the next 25 years compared to what's on the ground today. That's a baseline is what's on the ground today, and then what happens 25 years from now with that amount of growth. And we look at this for around 20 different topics that have a wide range to understand the full set of implications. There we go. It didn't want to show. But that's what the EIR is going to cover. So this is CEQA. One of the tools, the most extensive analysis is an environmental impact report. And that's going to cover the whole general plan, including the city and what's called its sphere of influence, or that unincorporated area that's still likely to be served by Barstow in the future if it gets annexed. So we'll look at the general plan, the whole planning area, and the big specific plan, including the potential annexations and pre-zoning. So where do we go from here? So obviously in the beginning of 2024, we looked at the land use options, that map that I had, largely unchanged, got everyone to generally agree this is a pattern worth studying. Then we're looking at the technical studies, updating the general plan elements. We're kind of in the midst of those. We're starting to wrap those up. And then early next year, you can expect to see a draft general plan out for public review, as well as a draft EIR. That'll have a mandated period of public review. And ultimately, once some comments are incorporated and revised, we're looking at public hearings by the end of the year. So again, I'll be out in the lobby, and if you need more information or you have more questions, you can still always contact. It's never going to be too late. Use this information that's on the screen, go onto the website, and you'll find more information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Colin. I'd like to welcome Ms. Lena Kent from BNSF to provide an update on the BIG project.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. It's great to see all of you out there in the audience. I know Thursday nights for some is tough because it's Thursday night football. So I will tell you, in the last check, 17 Bucks and 14 Falcons. So if you're anxiously trying to see what the score is, that's what it is. And it won't hurt my feelings if you need to check once in a while during the presentation. I, again, just want to thank all of you for being here. I first want to acknowledge our first responders that are here, our police, Barstow Police and Fire Department. Those right there are our true heroes. So thank you for coming out and your interest in the project. And then I want to thank our union partners that also showed up today. I see them all in their orange vest, and those are the people, among many others, that will be working on this project when we start construction. So thank you all for being here tonight. I also want to thank any of our BNSF employees or their family members that are here. I will tell you that they have been working extremely hard. As many of you know, there's the East Coast strike going on at the ports, and that has brought a lot of volume to the West Coast ports. So we are seeing record volumes, and the fine men and women that work for BNSF are working extremely hard to move the nation's goods and make sure that there's still things on the shelf when you go shopping or your packages are delivered. So thank you to all the BNSF employees and their family members that are here today. And then I also want to thank Senator Grove's office, Congressman Obernolte, Supervisor Rao, and I'll touch on more of the support, the tremendous support we've seen from them when we get to the CARB portion of it, but I just want to say thank you for their continued support as we work through this process. And then I also need to say thank you to the city staff of Barstow, because let me tell you, they've been amazing to work with on this project, haven't given up on us, and have taken the time to come to see our Fort Worth headquarters, as you saw in the video, and continue to find ways to make this project the best that they possibly can for this community. So thank you to the city of Barstow and all the work. And then I also want to say thank you to each and every one of you for coming tonight, for your interest in the project, and for your continued support. And again, I will get into more of how you all have made a difference when we talk about the CARB piece of this. So again, thank you for being here tonight. So I'll jump right in. There's a lot of things I want to cover tonight, and really want to just give you an update of where we're at, what we've been working on. Kind of want to see a show of hands. It's a good way to stretch your arms, make sure you're still, kicking out there. But how many people thought this project was dead? Anybody want to raise your hands? Okay, I see a few people out there. Thank you for your honesty. I'm here to tell you that this project is not dead. We are still, yeah, I agree. We are still working really hard to make sure that we bring this project forward. I'm a believer in this, as some of you know, and I'm going to take this opportunity just to brag a little bit, but I'm the new grandma of 2 twin girls, and I'm super excited about that. And my daughter said, Mom, would you consider retiring and taking care of the babies? And I will tell you, I still think I'm 30. I know it's 28 and a half years here at BNSF, so that math's not really working out. But I told my daughter, I'll watch them on the weekends, but I'm staying for now because I believe in what we're doing here. I want to see this project happen. It is probably the most exciting project I have ever worked on. So I'm committed to staying, and I hope you're all committed to staying with us as we work through all of the processes. So let me just start out, because I know there's some people in here. Some of you have already heard the project details. I'm going to take a couple of minutes for those of you who are new, who maybe don't know as much about our project, and give you a little bit of insight about who we are as a company and what the project is about. So we're owned by Berkshire Hathaway. We have about 37,000 employees that work for BNSF across 28 states and 3 Canadian provinces. About 1,000 of those people work right here in Barstow. And we are planning to grow that significantly, and we'll get into more of that when we talk about B.I.G. We move about 1,200 trains a day, which, as you could imagine, that takes a lot of people and a lot of coordination to get from point A to point B and ultimately on the shelf. So those people work really hard to make sure that they deliver. And we move about 10 million units per year. Again, as you heard me in the opening, we're seeing record volumes, so a lot is coming in through the ports, and so you most likely are seeing some increased movement through the area as we handle those record volumes. Let's see if I can get this without. So a little bit about how goods move from the ports of LA and Long Beach. So container ships come in, they're offloaded at the docks. And they are either loaded right on the dock, and then a truck picks them up, and it takes that container, a 40-foot container, it takes them to somewhere in the Inland Empire or the LA Basin. They'll go to a warehouse, and they'll take the contents of that container, they'll break it apart, they'll repackage it into a 53-foot container, and then they will either take it by truck across the country to someplace like Chicago, Kansas, Texas, or it may be put on a rail car. Often, that rail car is in Los Angeles, so they'll truck it to San Bernardino, Ontario, Fontana, Paris, and then they'll transload it, and then a truck will pick it up and take it right back down to our Los Angeles facility, where it will come right back through the area, up the Cajon Pass, through Barstow to destinations across the country. Or a truck will pick it up at one of those Inland Empire warehouses. It'll come onto the 15 freeway, be trucked across the United States to the interior of the country. There are some containers that are loaded directly onto rail at the ports of LA and Long Beach, but the vast majority of them are taken to a warehouse where they're transloaded. We think that there's a lot of inefficiencies with the way that things are currently moving today. There are opportunities to do it better. And so those containers that are moving by truck from the Inland Empire can be loaded directly on at the ports of LA and Long Beach and come right through this area, be offloaded in Barstow, where we will work to transload them and process them there. That is where the new facility comes into play. It's called the Barstow International Gateway, or BIG, as we like to refer to it. And I think the name is so appropriate to call it BIG because it sits on over 4,500 acres. There is no facility in the entire world like BIG. It's obviously going to bring a lot of economic impact, benefits to the area, a lot of jobs, and so we'll get into more of that in just a moment.
More than 30%.
Just go right to the video. I'm sorry, I always jump ahead. You can never trust me with one of these little clickers. So we'll get right to the video. It's a brand new video. You haven't seen it yet, but it just explains a little bit about what the facility will do, and then we'll get more into the benefits of the project. I'm sorry, if I had popcorn, I'd pass it out, but I don't, so enjoy the video.
More than 30% of the international containers brought into the U.S. arrives through the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. With this continuous flow of traffic and increasing demand at the ports and in the Inland Empire, there is an opportunity to create new jobs in the high desert, improve efficiency, and increase sustainability. The BNSF Railway Barstow International Gateway, or BIG, offers an opportunity to move cargo directly from the ports to its destination quickly and safely. With BIG, international containers will be loaded from ships onto BNSF trains to Barstow, located approximately 130 miles from the ports, instead of being trucked. Containers will arrive at the state-of-the-art facility to be processed, where there will be more than 500,000 feet of track space and on-site warehouses. With sufficient capacity, the incoming containers from the ports will be transferred by hybrid electric cranes directly onto a waiting chassis within the facility. The containers will be transported through the facility via battery electric hostlers into the logistics park section of the facility, where they will ultimately be transloaded in the millions of available square feet of on-site integrated warehouses into domestic containers in preparation for further rail movement across North America. The domestic containers will then be positioned for an outbound train to destinations across our network, and the empty international containers will be returned back via train to the ports. While these domestic containers are being built into outbound trains, international containers for lower density markets are also simultaneously being brought into the switching yard in preparation for outbound trains as well, ultimately allowing for denser trains entering the network. With these denser trains comes more efficiency and consistency to getting freight on time to its destination. As the containers move east, they will enter the rest of the BNSF network, supporting Southern California's ports, the local and national supply chain, and the economy. More than 30%.
Oh, Thank you for the applause. I appreciate it. So, it was so good, I was going to play it again. So, let's get into a little bit of the benefits. So, from an economic standpoint, it's going to bring thousands of jobs to this area. We estimate about 20,000 direct and indirect jobs. That does not include the construction jobs. The construction jobs are going to be about 3,000 to 4,000 a year. As you can see, all of our union partners that are here today, we did sign a project labor agreement to build this project. I think they're going to need a lot more help. So if you know people that need a job, get with your unions because they are certainly going to need people as we work to build this facility. We know that those people are going to come from all over the high desert, and I think a lot of people are pretty excited to be able to stay and work right here in the high desert versus driving down the Cajon Pass to destinations in the Inland Empire and LA to work. So we're super excited about the direct and indirect jobs that it will bring to the area. Again, you heard about the more efficient way to move cargo. Again, there's a lot of inefficiencies that add a lot of truck movements on the highway. And please don't get me wrong, I am in no way against our trucking companies. They are some of our biggest customers, our biggest partners. So it's really important for us to continue to work closely. But there are ways to reduce some of those movements and move more by rail. And for the short haul, let the truck drivers do that portion of it. And then hopefully we avoid some of the conflicts that we had during COVID when you saw a supply chain meltdown. This allows us a facility of obviously a significant size to be able to pull trains into and reduce some of the trains that may be holding on our main line. And then, again, reducing some of the truck movements. We don't have the numbers yet. We're still working through our EIR process. I mean, I'll get into a little bit of that in the next slide or two about what that entails. But certainly it is a staggering number of truck movements that will be taken off of our local highways. We did move it away from the densely populated area. That's why Barstow was obviously so attractive for us as a possible location for the facility. We were able to acquire the property needed for a project of this size, and it was adjacent to our main line. I think in addition, we have long seen Barstow as a place where we knew we were going to grow. And many of you have heard me tell this story before, but we had been asked for many, many years to build a project here in Barstow. I don't know that anybody ever imagined that it would be the biggest facility in the entire world when they came to us and asked us that. And we always knew one day we would do something. But this, I think, surpassed what anybody had even imagined at the time. So I'm super excited to still be here and be working on a project of this magnitude. And then, of course, providing all the jobs closer to home. And I would say, too, when it comes to the jobs, obviously the trades are going to need a lot of people to work on this project. Welders, plumbers, carpenters. We're going to need a lot of people. But we also need people to work at our rail facility. And we have job openings that you can apply for now versus waiting until the facility opens. So if you yourself or you have a family member or a friend that's looking for a job, go to bnsf.com to our careers section, and every week look to see what's open and available. You don't have to wait until this facility is completed before you apply for a job with us. We'd love to have you sooner than that. So let's talk a little bit about the CARB in-use locomotive rule. I think it was a big shock to everybody when we came out and said this project was in jeopardy because of CARB's in-use locomotive rule. And I'll give you just a little bit of a highlight of what that rule says. Basically, in 2023, the California Air Resources Board passed a regulation that said by 2026, the railroads, the Class 1, so that would be us and the Union Pacific, would need to put in about $800 million per year into a fund to acquire zero-emission technology. That is a staggering amount of money. It represents about a third of what our capital expenditure is across our entire network, which again is 28 states and 3 Canadian provinces. They also said by 2030 that any locomotive that was older than 23 years could not operate in the state. So you think 23 years old may sound old, Now that I'm a grandma, it doesn't sound so old anymore, sounds pretty young. But even if that locomotive has a brand new engine in it, it still couldn't operate in the state. So that, because the body of it is 23 years old. And then by 2035, we have to have zero emission, so electric locomotives, which are not yet commercially viable. So this certainly put us in a little bit of a limbo. You heard Colin talk about the CEQA process. We have to analyze what equipment we're going to use at this facility and what impacts it will have. It's very difficult to analyze equipment that does not yet exist. So we certainly asked all of you to push back, and boy, did you push back. I will tell you that I think it took everybody, including our top-tier management, by surprise at the amount of support that came out to push back against CARB. There were thousands and thousands of letters that went into the Environmental Protection Agency. So, hey, if you're in here, give yourself a great hand, because I will tell you, you did a great, great job. I also have to tell you that Congressman Obernolte has been just a true champion in pushing back on this regulation. I cannot thank him enough for the work that he's done and how he's fighting for the people right here in Barstow and for this project. And I would also say the same for Supervisor Dawn Rao. She testified at the EPA hearing. The county wrote a letter to push back as well. She's also been a true champion and really working hard to push back and help to bring this project forward. So our fight is not over yet. I will tell you that what we're waiting for is the EPA has to make a determination, because CARB can't just put this rule into place without getting a waiver from the Environmental Protection Agency. And so the EPA is currently, they took all the testimony, all the letters that were submitted, and they are going through and going to make a decision on that, whether or not they give California a waiver to implement this rule. We are waiting on pins and needles. We still have not heard. We had hoped to have a decision by now, but we still do not have that decision. Does it happen after the election? Perhaps, but we just don't have a timeline yet as to when they will come out with that decision. I will tell you that we are very optimistic. We feel like just the amount of support that's come in at the federal, the state, the local level, that we've made a huge dent. And everybody stood up and paid attention, like, hey, all of these people that are pushing back have something to lose here. This is an opportunity for us to do something really great here in Barstow and bring a lot of great jobs and economic vitality to not only Barstow, but the entire high desert region, as well as the state of California and the nation's supply chain. And so I will tell you, as a result of a lot of the pushback that's happened, we've seen congressional members in other states also start to push back and question what CARB is doing. Does that mean we get a free pass and we still, as a company, as a corporation, don't have to do what's right by our communities? Absolutely not. And that's why we're working to test battery electric locomotives. We have put in an order. We actually put that in a couple of years ago, and the manufacturers have told us that it will not be until 2027 before we get the next prototype of an electric locomotive. We did test the first battery electric locomotive between Stockton and Barstow. Unfortunately, it did not have enough juice to get us all the way here. It had to be sandwiched between two diesel locomotives, so pushed and pulled. So there's still a long way to go before that technology is commercially viable. We have been acquiring Tier 4 locomotives, which is our cleanest type of locomotive, and also testing renewable fuels. So there's a lot more to do in this space, and it's something we have a whole team that's dedicated to working on the next generation of technology. I would also like to say that the Mojave Air District, what a breath of fresh air, to work with. I will tell you that, because they're also working very cooperatively with us as we work to bring on this new technology. We're going to be replacing some of the locomotives at the existing Barstow facility with cleaner technology, and that will continue to accelerate once the Barstow project is completed. But we've had a great opportunity to work with them in a cooperative manner to bring newer equipment here and improve the air quality for everybody in this region and in the state of California. So thank you to the Mojave Air District as well for working with us to bring that on. So again, I just want to say thank you. Don't give up. We're going to continue this fight, and I hope that we have an answer by the end of this year on where EPA is on the waiver. So the current project status. You may think, okay, I haven't heard from you guys. I don't know what you're doing. I will tell you, when you have to go through CEQA, it is quite the novel. It is, I would say the document will be thousands and thousands of pages, most likely well over 20,000 pages, as we have to evaluate a number of different things in that document. Air quality, traffic impacts, the list goes on and on. So I will tell you some of the things that we have been working on, just to give you a sense that, there is so many people, not only here in the state of California, still currently working on this project, but people across our network who are also working on it, in addition to multiple consultants who have also been hired to help work through this significant process of CEQA. So we have been working on the engineering design for the project. That's well underway. That looks at grading on the property, utilities, roadway, the rail infrastructure. We've been coordinating with the San Bernardino County on a new design for the Hinckley Road Bridge replacement. So some of you may not know this, but I'll let you know that tonight that the Hinckley Road currently is an at-grade crossing, and it's on a blind curve. So if you've ever stopped at that crossing, you have to be, you look both ways because there could be an oncoming train coming. As part of this project, the Hinckley Road crossing will be eliminated. And what we'll do is we'll build a brand new bridge over the Mojave River. For some of you that live in that area, you know that that bridge can often be out of service and because of flooding. So we're going to build a new state-of-the-art bridge over the Mojave River. That bridge will connect around the facility and connect into Linwood. So you're not going to have your access cut off. It just won't be at the at-grade. It'll be a new road that will be built around the facility and connect right into Linwood. We're also coordinating closely with the San Bernardino County Flood Control District on a design for improvements to the Linwood Channel. And so those of you who know that area as well know that sometimes flooding happens and it shuts down Main Street. So we're going to be working to improve the Linwood channel. So that I think that's also a major benefit to the area. Ongoing coordination with Edison. Let me tell you, that's a process because we have 4,500 plus acres out there, and we're trying to get power to the site. And our existing, just to put that into the proper context, our existing facility uses about 1 megawatt of electricity. The new facility will use about 66 megawatts, so considerably more than what we're currently using at our current facility. And that's because of the electric hostlers that we'll use for to move containers in and around the yard that are zero emission. That will be for the cranes. It will be for the warehouses. So as you know, the state's really been pushing for zero emission technology, so there's a lot of demand for that energy. So we're working really closely with Edison to try to get the needed infrastructure to that site. So that is a process and one I think that we're making some headway on. And then we're having multiple meetings with the Army Corps of Engineers, the Water Board, wildlife agencies, because we have to work through the permits for this project. So a lot of meetings that are ongoing with them. And then of course, as you heard Colin talk about the city's general plan, we've been working really closely with them as they're working on their general plan. I think something that was really important to us is we really wanted to see housing on the east end of town, industrial development on the west end of town, to really try to separate that and not have any of the conflicts that are associated with a house going up right up next to us. So a lot of work is going on. I just want to assure you that we don't have our feet up. I wish I was sitting in my office with my feet up sometimes, but that is not the case. This is literally, we have people that are working on this project nonstop. We continue to invest. That's obviously a significant investment, not only because of the land that we've acquired, but the sheer number of people that we have working on this project, I hope gives all of you a little bit of assurance that we are fully committed to this project. We are still moving forward. The EPA waiver is something that still hangs out there. But again, I'm optimistic we're going to win that. And don't let up on that. If you see your elected officials, please let your voice be known that this is really important, because I think collectively between all of us, we're going to get this project across the finish line. I truly believe that. So here's where we're at currently in the process. You know, in February, we announced the notice of preparation. Many of you attended the scoping meeting, so I know there was well over 200 people that attended the scoping meeting to learn more about the city's general plan, also to hear about the project, raise some of your concerns and issues, and that gives us an opportunity to take a look at all of those things. So where we're at now is we're working on the draft DIR. That thousands and thousands of page draft DIR does take some time to produce, and so we hope to have that out here in the middle of 2025. I'm starting to lose my years. 2025, and then it'll give you all a chance to look at it and to weigh in. And what do you like? What do you don't like? What needs to be improved? And to offer your input in there. And then from there, they will take all of those comments, and then they will come out with a final EIR for all of you to look at. And that's also an opportunity then where your city council will vote on the project, either yes or no, we want this for our city, or we do not. I'm hoping that you want this for your city and that you see the benefits that it's going to bring, and it will be a unanimous vote there. And then once that decision has been made by your city council, we hope to start construction immediately. As I said, we would turn dirt today if we could. We'd have everybody rolling in and putting all those orange vests to work right now if we could, but again, we need that final vote. And once that final vote comes in, we'll start to turn dirt, which will be about 2026. From there, it's about a 3-year process, so the plan is to open the facility in 2028. I think that's about the end of the presentation. Obviously, there's so much more to talk about. I am going to be out in the front. If you have questions, come and talk to me. You have concerns, come and talk to me, because I've said this before. We want to know about them up front versus at the end of this when it comes before the city council to vote. If there's anything that you're troubled by, come and see me, and at least let's have that conversation. I may not be able to fix everything, but I'm definitely your representative here to try to work with you and resolve some of those concerns. And then if you don't have a question tonight, but something comes up later, many of you have my contact information. We also have a website. It's the BNSF BIG website. Feel free to go on, sign up for updates, stay connected with us. My information is on there. If you want to send me an email, if you have a question, don't hesitate to do that. I'm definitely here to try to help in any way that I can. So again, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of you that showed up tonight. I know it's a sacrifice to take time away from your personal life, but it really does show how important this is to this community, and I am so grateful for all of you and for all the opportunities that I've had to speak with many of you. So again, thank you for being here.
So I want to thank everybody for being here on the ongoing efforts to support our community. As Ms. Kent said, I know Thursday night football is going on, so hopefully somebody's got an update on the score. So as we conclude our program today, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you guys for attending and engaging with us, the college for opening their doors to such a beautiful venue. Your involvement is critical in the community's success, and please encourage everyone to complete the sign-in sheet or use the drop box. Please feel free to head to the lobby and continue conversations with one another. The City of Barstow, Rao's office, Grove's office, Obernolte's office, PlaceWorks, BNSF, the real estate team, and we look forward to seeing you at the next meeting and the growth of this city. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.